experiences. I'm Bob Ertman, your lay worship leader this morning. Whoever you are and wherever you come from, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God some of the time, all of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. Now, I'd like to reaffirm our covenant with you. Love is the spirit of our people, and service is our call. To build the beloved community, to seek fuller truths in love, to dwell together in peace, to offer aid and affirmation, and to live for one another. This is our covenant. And now Evelyn and Amelia will help us light our chalice.
We light this chalice today to light the way for ourselves and our children.
Pull it back with your thumb.
Hold on, we're gonna let it burn for a little while, Amelia. So do you wanna come step over here with your sister? Perfect. And I'm gonna show it burning so people can focus on it.
Okay, so today Zephyr is helping us with the Wonder Box. We had some magic hands opening the box. It's Reverend John Cresswell here with my son Zephyr Cresswell. And AZ, what's in the Wonder Box today?
It is a track spike for track and field.
Ah, well, why don't you tell us about what that track spike does or who uses it?
Well, track runners, specifically this is for sprinters, for the fast runners that do the quick races like Usain Bolt.
Are you, do you run?
Yes, I do run.
You haven't been able to run because of pandemic, but are you hoping to get back out there?
Yes, I'm hoping to in hopefully March. So around my birthday, hopefully we go back and we could have a season. So.
And you,
nice.
you're hoping to continue to do that when you go to college?
Yes, I am.
Good, good. Now I'm going to give you the camera and talk to the folks a little bit. So here you go. We're going to make a little switch. And I just want to say, I got my Reverend Coach John hat on today because I've always seen myself as a coach for my kids. And Zephyr, would you say I've been a pretty good coach?
Yeah, I will say that.
What do you think makes a good coach?
They can lead people really well. A lot of people just feel like they just should follow them because they just set examples and they look confident in what they do. So that's.
You think I look confident? Thank you, son. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I've been around you long enough to know that, so that's good.
Well, you know, one of the things when I coached, it was hard. I don't know if any of you guys have coached your children or been around sports where parents are sort of hoarding over their children or lording over them and getting in arguments with referees and stuff like that. Believe it or not, I've had my moments and I had to check myself. Realizing that I was an example for not just my son, but all of the kids who were out there and the parents. And so I realized I had to let go, that I had done enough at home with Zephyr and in our private practices, and that I had to sort of let go. And if he loved the sport, he would stay with it. And I had to trust his coaches that they could do their job. Now, it didn't mean that I didn't have little private conferences with the coaches. But I actually did. I wrote a book called Run, Lessons for On and Off the Track and Field of Life. I haven't really done anything with it yet, but one of the principles in that is you gotta love it. And so Zephyr, is running something that you feel like I forced you to do, or is this something you've grown to love, or?
I've definitely grown to love it, partially because like I just like being healthy, and like if I didn't run, I feel like I'll get like scared to get like out of shape or something. I just like it. Running makes me feel happy, honestly. So
Good.
It's good to work out.
Well, and you know, every parent wants their kid to go to the Olympics, but really, I just want you to be healthy and to live your best life, and we got to. Actually, you shocked me because Stan Keeve, if you're watching, I tried to get him to go into the Navy, man. I tried the best I could, but Zephyr, you have made a decision to do what now after high school?
Army ROTC and whichever college I go to. So.
Army ROTC. So,
yep.
And run track too?
Yeah.
Good. Well, anyway, I wanted to give you guys a quick update on Zephyr for the Wonder Box and what he's been doing with his life. You guys don't know it, but I actually have 5 children, 3 biological and 2 stepkids. And Zephyr is the youngest. He turns 18 in March. So we're seeing him off. And so hopefully I'm putting up a picture of my family right now so you can get a look at us. But there are a lot of Cresswells and Tomwells. We call ourselves the Tomwells. And we love each other and we have a good time trying our best to be our best. We are imperfectly perfect. So, all right, it's Rev John. Hope you enjoyed the Wonder Box. And now I'm going back inside because it's cold. And I need to change my clothes for church.
I wonder if the sun debates dawn some mornings, not wanting to rise out of bed from under that down feather horizon. If the sky grows tired of being everywhere at once, adapting to the mood swings of the weather. If clouds drift off, trying to hold themselves together, make deals with gravity to loiter a little longer. I wonder if rain is scared of falling, if she has trouble letting go, if snowflakes get sick of being perfect all the time, each one trying to be one of a kind. I wonder if stars wish upon themselves before they die, if they need to teach their young how to shine. I wonder if shadows long to just for once feel the sun. If they get lost in the shuffle, not knowing where they're from. I wonder if sunrise and sunset respect each other, even though they've never met. If storms have regrets, if volcanoes get stressed, if compost believes in life after death. I wonder if breath ever thinks of suicide, if the wind just wants to sit still sometimes and watch the world pass him by, if smoke was born knowing how to rise, if rainbows get shy backstage, not sure if their colors match right. I wonder if lightning needs an alarm clock to know when to crack, if rivers ever stop and think of turning back, if streams meet the wrong sea and their whole lives run off track. I wonder if the snow wants to be black, if the soil thinks she's too dark, if butterflies want to cover up their marks, if rocks are self-conscious of their weight, if mountains are insecure of their strength. I wonder if waves get discouraged crawling up the sand, only to be pulled back again to where they began, if land feels stepped upon, if sand feels insignificant, if trees need to question their lovers to know where they stand, if branches waver at the crossroads, unsure of which way to grow, if leaves understand they're replaceable and they still dance when the wind blows. I wonder where the moon goes when she is in hiding, I want to find her there and watch the ocean spin from a distance, listen to her stir in her sleep, effort give way to existence.
Our reading today is an excerpt from Brené Brown's Daring Greatly. If wholeheartedness is the goal, then above all else, we should strive to raise children who engage the world from a place of worthiness, embrace their vulnerabilities and imperfections, feel a deep sense of love and compassion for themselves and others, value hard work, perseverance, and respect, carry a sense of authenticity and belonging with them rather than searching for it in external places, have the courage to be imperfect, vulnerable, and creative. Don't fear feeling ashamed or unlovable if they are different or struggling. Move through our rapidly changing world with courage and a resilient spirit. For parents, that means that we are called to acknowledge that we can't give our children what we don't have. And so we must let them share in our journey to grow, change, and learn. Recognize our own armor and model for children how to take it off, be vulnerable, show up, and let ourselves be seen and known. Honor our children by continuing on our journey toward wholeheartedness. Parent from a place of enough rather than scarcity. Mind the gap and practice the values we want to teach. Dare greatly, possibly more than we've ever dared before. In other words, if we want our children to love and accept who they are, our job is to love and accept who they are, who we are, and they are.
Careful the things you say, children will listen. Careful the things you do, children will see and learn. Children may not obey, but children will listen. Children will look to you for which way to turn, to learn what to be. Careful before you say, listen to me. Children will listen. Careful the wish you make, wishes are children. Careful the path they take, wishes come true, not free. Careful the spell you cast, not just on children. Sometimes the spell may last past what you can see and turn against you. Careful the tale you tell, that is the spell. Children will listen. Guide them but step away, children will glisten. Tamper with what is true, and children will turn. If just to be free, careful before you say, listen to me. Children will listen. Children will listen. Children will listen.
Brene Brown begins her chapter on wholehearted parenting with this passage. Who we are and how we engage with the world are much stronger predictors of how our children will do than what we know about parenting. In terms of teaching our children to dare greatly, it isn't so much about specific parenting techniques or philosophies as it is, are you the adult that you want your child to grow up to be? That question of Brene Brown's, are you the adult that you want your child to grow up to be, is a tenderizing one. And in full disclosure, I can't say any given day that I could confidently answer yes to that question. But she also talks about the why this is so important. What her research demonstrates is that our experiences with our first family, with our parents and siblings and home, will teach us much about our own worthiness or our own shame, and will set patterns for the rest of our lives. Knowing as we do that shame is positively correlated with addiction, depression, aggression, violence, eating disorders, and suicide. Conversely, if we shine back at them their own worthiness, if we demonstrate to them what wholehearted living looks like, they will be able to follow those like a North Star to experiences of belonging. Now, you might have heard in what I just said, it's not about being perfect. None of us are. It's not even about figuring it all out, because there'll always be new challenges. Rather, it is about showing that we, as adults, are still engaged in a practice and a process of wholehearted living. So that way, when someone observes us from the outside, they can say, oh, I see that they're struggling with these engagements, but still trying. That they managed that and it was glorious. And now I know what that looks like. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about what it looks like to be engaged in living or attempting to live a wholehearted life. The first thing that we need to demonstrate is that we understand our own worthiness. The best story that I know of this comes from the wonderful Maya Angelou. She shared with Oprah that the best thing that she ever did as a parent was to teach her son about this pristine and pure place within each of us. She believes that each of us has this holy, sacred place within each of us. She says, what's in there might be, when we die, the part of us that goes to join God. That most sacred life within us, that spark of the divine, that place of pure life, that's the best description that I've ever heard about a soul. Now, Maya Angelou told her son, you have to keep that part of yourself, that place, pure and pristine and inviolate. You never let it become sullied. And when people come to step on that, you tell them to back off, just like that, back off. Whether that is your parent or a friend or a boss or a lover or a spouse, you defend that with all of your being because it is the place of your worthiness. We have to know our own worthiness that deeply and guard it that fiercely. The second thing that we need to do is understand and demonstrate the difference, the vast, vast difference between failing and being a failure. Maya Angelou has a story about this too. When she was 17, she became pregnant. And at that time, she was living in her mother's home, an 18-room house with live-in help. And she came to her mother and shared that she was moving out. She had rented a sort of studio room that had cooking privileges down the hall, and that the landlady would be watching the baby while Maya went to work. And her mother said, so you're leaving? Yes. And you're taking the baby? Yes. And her mother said, okay then, but I want you to understand something. I raised you, and you know the difference between right and wrong. Don't let anyone out there raise you differently. And if you ever need or want to come home, you always can. Now, there were plenty of times when Maya Angelou came back home, took up that her mother's offer to come home. And every time she did, do you know what her mother said? Oh, looky, baby's home. Look, baby, here you are. What do you want to eat? Let me cook you your favorite food. There was the joy of return, and in all of that joy of return, and reminding Maya Angelou that she knew the difference between right and wrong, her mother always made clear that no matter the struggles, Maya Angelou was never a failure. The next wholehearted practice is the ability to say, yup, I haven't quite figured that out right for myself yet. I'm going to share a story with you that's a little over a year old that Sadie gave me permission to share. And it was 2 falls ago, and Kent had started to work his job here in the Washington, D.C. area. In fact, he was in a 6-week stint where he was gone for that time, and I was single parenting it and just trying to do the best that I could. And it just so happened this one October day, I had gotten a call from my daughter's school because I had failed to pick her up because I had missed the fact that there would be no after school activities that day or the next day. And I felt really bad about this. And so the next day, that Wednesday, I thought, let me do something really special for the kids. And one of the things that we love to do was to go to the pool. And I made some calculations and I thought, okay, the pool closes at 5, but if I pick up Benjamin at 3:30 and I pick up Sadie at about 4:05, 4:10, and we rush to the pool and we get changed, we'll have like just enough time to really enjoy the pool. And I knew that this would be hard because I am often late. And this had become a real tender point between Sadie and I because I had been a little late to pick her up some of these days when I was getting her and Benjamin and Kent was away. And it wasn't uncommon for me to get a phone call like this. I would get a phone call And turns out Sadie's activity would end and she wouldn't see me. And she'd go up to this other parent who was a perfect stranger who she didn't know. And she'd say, I don't know where my mommy is. I don't know where she is. And this poor concerned parent would say, oh my goodness, do you know her number? And Sadie would go, yes, I do. And she would have this often woman, another mother, call me, and I'd get this phone call and the woman would say, I'm so sorry, I don't know you, but your daughter's here and she seems very upset and wondering where you are. And I would say, I am in the parking lot. It's 5:15, like no one's even made it out of the classroom where the active school activity is, and I'll be there in about 30 seconds. And that had happened so many times, and I felt so guilty from the day before. So I thought, okay, I cannot be late, not for her again, and certainly not if I want to do this pool. And so I was rushing about and moving so quickly, and my heart was palpitating and palpitating as I was watching the clock, and I made it on time. And I put on this, great smile. I went, wonderful, come on in, we're gonna head to the pool. Even though I'm thinking, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm doing this. And we get into the pool parking lot. And one of the things that Kent and I would do just to bring a little magic and to corral the kids is that sometimes we would wheel them in this little wheelbarrow. And we pulled into the parking lot. I turned off the car and Sadie said, wheelbarrow? And I turned around, I looked at her and I said, we don't have the wheelbarrow. It's not in the car. Drop it. And then she turned to Benjamin and she goes, Benjamin, would you like the wheelbarrow? And he goes, wheelbarrow. And I said, there's no wheelbarrow. Drop it. And then Benjamin goes, wheelbarrow, wheelbarrow. And I said, no wheelbarrow, wheelbarrow, wheelbarrow. And Sadie goes, wheelbarrow, wheelbarrow. And I look at her, I said, we don't have it. By this point, I'm carrying Benjamin in one arm, carrying the swim bag, holding Sadie's hand, trying to get to the pool so we have enough time after all that I had invested in it. And as we're passing into the building, she keeps talking about this wheelbarrow and he is crying now, wheelbarrow. And I say to her, if you keep this up, there's no extra privileges. By the time we get into the family changing room, there she is. And I said, look, we're here now. I understand that was really stressful. Let's just get changed into the pool. Long story short, she refuses to get changed. And for about 30 minutes in the pool, there she was, crying poolside, giving me the saddest and most vulnerable faces. And there I am in the pool, just trying to be calm, and then sometimes just crying myself. I mean, how did this go so wrong? And everyone else in the pool was like this, not understanding why I wasn't offering comfort to this crying 6-year-old. Finally, we just abandoned it. And we went inside to the changing room. Again, and there's Sadie. And she musters up a little bit of courage to speak. And she goes, what are extra privileges? And I said to her, I don't even know what extra privileges are. And she said, but you said extra privileges. And you want to know why I said extra privileges? Because right then I was a single mom, and privileges are either candy or episodes. And I knew later that night that they weren't going to get any more candy later that night. And 2, I might really need them to put on to watch that episode so I could get something done around the house. And so I said, I don't really know what extra privileges are, but I just wanted to say that they weren't going to be an option. Well, why do you say it? And what are they? So I tried to come up with a description about what an extra privilege would be. And I said to her, you know, I felt like you weren't listening. I kept saying we didn't have the wagon and to stop talking about it, but you kept talking about it. I just felt like you weren't listening. And she looked at me and very clearly and vulnerably said, I listen in the morning. I listen all day at school, and then I'm supposed to listen after school. How much listening am I supposed to do? And I realized she's really right. I mean, it's not possible to listen for 16 hours a day. And her vulnerability helped me find my vulnerability. She really led me that day. And so I said to her, and I said, look, I think I was so short. And I said that thing because I just really didn't want to disappoint you again. I know that I've disappointed you all those times when I was late, either 5 minutes late or 1 minute late, or just right outside the door and you didn't see me. And I just didn't have the heart to disappoint you again. And though I wasn't late, my heart was really racing. And I'm just trying to figure out like how I can do better. It's really hard for me. You know, my mom never taught me to be on time, which is really true. When I was about Sadie's age, or a little bit older, I used to take myself to school and I would just take a couple dollars for lunch out of my mom's bag, and she would be snoring when I left. And Sadie said, really? And I said, yeah. Mumsy was late for almost everything. Late for her family, late for the theater, late for her tennis matches, late for pretty much everything. And I am so sorry, sweetheart. I'm just so sorry that I am late sometimes for you, because I know what that feels like. In fact, one reason why I say to you in the mornings, Sadie, it's time to put on your shoes, or if you get your coat on, sweetheart, or let's get out the door, we're going to be late, is so that way you learn how to be on time. You learn the steps it takes to get out the door. And so that way you won't be late like I am. And she said, really? That's what you're doing? And I said, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm teaching you how to be on time. And she went, I didn't know that. And I said, yeah. So that night we went home and things were better. I think in part because we had some privileges, but also more importantly, because we took a moment where a lot of feelings were coming up for us and we were resilient. We said, you know, and I said, I don't always know how to do this well. And I'm so struggling with a sense of shame about not being enough, but I'm resilient enough to keep on trying. And saying I'm sorry helps. And that it is okay to ask for understanding and empathy. Also, incidentally, after that, she began to say things in the morning, such as, I think it's time to get my shoes on, or Mom, I think we should head out the door. We don't want to be late, which I consider a total parenting touchdown. The next wholehearted parenting practice is knowing how to say, me too. I'm struggling too. I too know what hurt feels like. And this example actually came just about 2 months after the pool incident that I was sharing with you. We took Sadie in for her 7-year-old checkup with her doctor. It was a really charming visit. And at the end, the doctor says, so you guys are moving, right? And Kent said, oh yeah, we're moving at the end of the summer. It's been really great being with you, but we're going to be moving. And I was the one who was going to take Sadie to school as Kent went to work. And by the time I had her buckled in, Sadie said, we're moving? And I said, yeah, we're moving because we already had the whole conversation about moving. And she goes, but I want to finish school. And what about my friends? And what about the places I like? And what about our home? I don't want to move. And I said, oh. And she said, and I really want to finish school here. And I said, oh, honey, we are finishing school here. We're going to stay in the summer and you're going to finish all of first grade. And she said, no, I don't want to finish first grade. I want to graduate from this school. And I said, you want to graduate from this school? You mean you want to go through 8th grade? And she said, yeah. And I could have laughed because, you tend not to announce that you're moving, 6 or 7 years into the future. But I looked at her and we knew that she would feel this way. And so I looked at her and I turned around from the driver's seat and I said, me too. In fact, I want you to know that I cried for 2 years over this. And your dad and I did everything we could to try to stay in Indianapolis. And I told her about all the things that we did. And at the end, she said, okay. And then she said, Mommy, should you be headed to pick up Benjamin? You're going to be late. And then she added, we could talk more as you drive. And I said, okay, sweetie, that sounds like a good idea. Perhaps one of the most important and maybe most accessible things that we could do is to shine back at them their own worthiness. Actually, the great Toni Morrison talks about this. She said how when her children first would come into a room, she would make sure that their socks were up and their belts buckled and their hair was in the right place. And then she realized that she wanted to give a different look. She wanted to shine back at them her love for them, her delight in them. And she said, when you know you're worthy, it's when you see it on the faces of the people around you. I hope that's the spirit, the shining welcome that we offer to one another. If you think it's too late for you to embody these qualities as a parent, or if you think I'm only talking about parents, I want you to consider a couple things. First, I was surprised to learn that 30% of millennials, only 30% of millennials, can name someone older than they are who they feel believes in them. Maya Angelou spoke about what it means to parent a young adult. One of those times when she went home to live again with her mom after they had shared one of those delicious meals, they headed out of their home. They went down the hill and they were going to go catch the streetcar. And right before they were crossing the street to where they would catch the streetcar, her mom held her back for a moment. And she said, honey pie, hold on, wait. And she looked at Maya Angelou and she said, I want you to know that you are one of the strongest women I know. I love you. In fact, you're in a category with just a few other women like my mother and Eleanor Roosevelt and another woman who I didn't know. And to this day, Maya Angelou remembers sitting on that streetcar, watching the sun warm the wood planks of the benches, and think to herself, my mother's an intelligent woman, and she says she's too mean-spirited to just be nice. And this woman sees something in me. Perhaps not only do I have something worthy to offer myself, perhaps I have something worthy to offer others. When we have those sort of relationships, let me tell you where they lead to. Maya Angelou's mother was living in San Francisco when she got a diagnosis of emphysema and lung cancer, and she was told that she only had 3 weeks left to live. Maya Angelou traveled out to California and said, would you come and live with me in my home, which I think was in North Carolina? And her mother said yes. And so Maya Angelou brought her mother to her home, and there she lived for another 1.5 years. When Maya Angelou could tell that her mother was in her last days, she went to her bedside and she sat with her and she said, I understand that some people need to be told it's okay to let go. And so I want you to know that I release you, because I have seen that I believe that you have fulfilled God's purpose for you here in this life. You worked hard. Many men, and if I'm right, a couple of women have risked their lives to be your lover. You were not a good parent to young children, but you were a wonderful parent to young adults. And so I release you if you are ready. Maya Angelou gave her mother that blessing because throughout her life, her mother had given Maya Angelou a love that freed her. And so she chose to offer that liberating love back to her mother. Her mother chose to pass away that night. So my dear ones, in any given week, I am both a wonderful and imperfect mother. But I believe that we can choose. We could choose to show up by accepting our own worthiness, show up by acknowledging that instances or even periods of failing don't mean that any one of us is a failure. We have the capacity to say, I am figuring this out, but I am going to stay in this thing called life, and I'm going to keep going, keep living wholeheartedly until I could experience and offer that kind of liberating love, where we could vulnerably say, me too. So that way, empathetically, others don't think that they're alone in their sorrow. And we can shine back each other's worthiness through the light in our eyes and the warmth of our smile and the connectedness of our gaze. If we are willing to show up like this, I think we may just raise a generation of wholehearted people that might just save the world. May it be so. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
Each month, UUCA selects a partner organization with which to share our designated collections that are made during our Sunday services. Today will be our last day collecting for our UUCA Emergency Response Fund, which helps families like yours and mine make it through particularly hard financial times by helping families pay utility bills, car repair payments, or buy other necessities. You can make a gift to our designated fund by using the QR codes shown on your screen. There are also QR codes to make any payments towards a pledge that you've made to our congregation, to make a direct donation as a friend. You'll also see that there's an option to text to give, or you'll find in the chat links to give if that is your preferred means. As you consider any gifts to give to UUCA and or our Emergency Response Fund, I hope that you enjoy this song entitled Love is My Decision.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. My decision, right here and now.
Spirit says do. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you've got to do, oh Lord. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you've got to sing, oh Lord. You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. Spirit says do. 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 You've got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. You've got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. When the Spirit says laugh, you've got to laugh, oh Lord. You've got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. Spirit says do. 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 You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you've got to shout, oh Lord. You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. Spirit says do. 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 Spirit says do.
We extinguish this flame now, but bring it with you. Keep it with you to guide yourselves and your children. Can lift it up now. Thank you.